Welcome to Justice Insight Cam, your source for authentic bodycam footage of police interactions. We do not just show the tape, we break down the law, the facts, and the crucial takeaways of every single encounter. Let us review the evidence.
Drop the weapon. Put your hands where I can see them.
What weapon? This is my walking stick. I'm blind.
Don't play games with me. I know a club when I see one.
Sir, I have a white cane. I'm visually impaired.
Right, and I'm supposed to believe that.
At 2:15 p.m. on a bright Thursday afternoon in Phoenix, Arizona, Officer Derek Collins made what would later become the most humiliating arrest of his 8-year law enforcement career. The man he aimed his weapon at wasn't holding a club or a bat. He was holding a white mobility cane, the type blind and visually impaired people use to move through the world safely. Marcus Thompson, a 34-year-old software engineer who had been blind since birth, had no idea that his routine walk to his favorite coffee shop 3 blocks from his apartment was about to become a viral sensation that would cost a police officer his badge and ignite a nationwide conversation about disability rights and police training. The body camera recording would later capture the full 8-minute encounter in painful detail. Every biased assumption, every failure to recognize obvious disability equipment, every moment of escalation that could have been avoided with basic decency and common sense. Before we get into this unbelievable story, can you do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. This story is going to stun you, and you do not want to miss what happens next. Marcus Thompson wasn't just another software engineer. He was a senior developer at a major tech company, a marathon runner, and an advocate for disability rights. He had been navigating Phoenix independently for over 15 years, using his white cane and his guide dog, Bailey, who was at the groomer that afternoon. Marcus had been born with lever congenital amaurosis, a genetic condition that caused severe vision loss from birth. He had never seen light, never seen color, never seen faces, but he had built a successful career, maintained an active social life, and lived completely independently in downtown Phoenix. His white cane was a standard mobility aid, the kind you can buy from the National Federation of the Blind. It was white with red reflective tape, exactly as specified by federal regulations for mobility devices. It was 4T long, lightweight, and designed to fold for easy storage. Anyone with basic knowledge of disability aids would recognize it immediately. Officer Derek Collins had been patrolling the downtown area that afternoon as part of what the department called community policing. Collins was a white officer in his early 30s who had joined the Phoenix Police Department straight out of college. His personnel file would later reveal a troubling pattern of complaints, mostly from minority residents, but nothing that had resulted in serious discipline. On this particular day, Collins was driving his patrol car down Central Avenue when he spotted Marcus walking north on the sidewalk. According to Collins's later testimony, what caught his attention was a black man carrying what appeared to be a weapon in a high crime area. The area wasn't high crime, it was downtown Phoenix, full of office buildings, restaurants, and coffee shops. But in Collins' mind, any area with black pedestrians was potentially dangerous. Collins pulled his patrol car to the curb and got out. He drew his service weapon immediately without assessing the situation, without observing Marcus's behavior, without noticing the obvious signs that Marcus was visually impaired. Marcus was walking slowly and deliberately, tapping his cane in the sweeping motion that blind pedestrians use to detect obstacles. His head was slightly tilted, listening for audio cues from traffic and pedestrians. He was wearing sunglasses and moving with the careful precision of someone who navigates entirely by sound and touch. All of these were clear indicators that Marcus was blind and using a mobility aid. Collins saw none of it. "Drop the weapon. Put your hands where I can see them," Collins shouted from across the street. Marcus stopped immediately, confused and frightened. He had no idea what was happening or who was shouting at him. "What weapon?" "This is my walking stick." "I'm blind," Marcus replied, his voice calm but concerned. Collins crossed the street, his weapon still drawn, still convinced he was dealing with an armed suspect. "Don't play games with me. I know a club when I see one," Collins said, his voice aggressive and disbelieving. Marcus held up his white cane, angling it so the red reflective tape was visible. "Sir, I have a white cane. I'm visually impaired, right? And I'm supposed to believe that?" "Nice try," Collins replied. This exchange was captured in perfect clarity on Collins's body camera. The audio picked up every word, every inflection, every moment of Collins' refusal to accept obvious reality. Quick question for you watching. Have you ever witnessed someone being discriminated against because of a disability? Let me know in the comments. What happened next was a masterclass in how implicit bias and racism can blind someone to basic facts. Collins was so convinced that he was dealing with a dangerous black man that he couldn't process the evidence right in front of his eyes. "Sir," Marcus said, his voice remaining patient despite his growing fear. "This is a standard white cane used by blind and visually impaired people. You can see the reflective tape, or it's a mobility aid, not a weapon." Collins moved closer, his weapon still drawn. "Turn around and put your hands on the wall." "Officer, I need to hold my cane to maintain my balance. I can't see where I'm going without it," I said. "Turn around." Marcus complied, turning to face a storefront window. He kept one hand on his cane for stability, which only increased Collins' suspicion. "Drop the weapon now," Collins shouted. "It's not a weapon, it's my cane. If I drop it, I won't be able to navigate safely." By now, pedestrians had stopped to watch the confrontation. Several people had their phones out recording the encounter. The body camera footage later showed at least 6 bystanders watching in obvious confusion and concern. One woman could be heard saying, "That's a blind man's cane. What is the officer doing?" Another pedestrian called out, "Officer, he's blind. That's a walking stick." Collins ignored them all. In his mind, the crowd was probably accomplices or gang members trying to help a suspect escape. "I'm going to search you for weapons," Collins announced. "You're welcome to search me, but please don't take my cane. I needed to walk safely." Collins began patting down Marcus, finding exactly what you'd expect to find on a software engineer walking to a coffee shop. A wallet, keys, and a smartphone with accessibility features enabled. While searching Marcus, Collins examined the white cane more closely. It was clearly marked with the manufacturer's information. It had the standard red reflective tape. It was lightweight and designed for mobility assistance, not as a weapon. Any reasonable person would have immediately recognized their mistake and apologized. Collins wasn't reasonable. "This could still be used as a weapon," Collins said, apparently unwilling to admit error. "Officer, it's a mobility cane. It's made of lightweight aluminum. It's designed to fold up. It's not capable of being used as an effective weapon, and I'm a blind man who needs it to walk." By this point, a small crowd had gathered. The bystanders were becoming more vocal in their objections to what they were witnessing. "Leave him alone! He's blind!" one man shouted. "This is harassment!" a woman called out. Collins was getting agitated by the crowd's reaction. Instead of reassessing the situation, he became more determined to justify his actions. "Sir, what's your name and where are you going?" Collins demanded. "My name is Marcus Thompson. I live at 1247 North Central Avenue, apartment 4B. I was walking to Copper Star Coffee on 3rd Street. I go there every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. The staff knows me. This should have been easy to verify." A simple radio call to the coffee shop would have confirmed Marcus's identity and routine. Collins didn't make that call. Instead, he asked Marcus for identification. Marcus reached slowly for his wallet, narrating his movements to avoid alarming Collins. I'm reaching into my back pocket for my wallet. It's in my right back pocket. Marcus handed over his driver's license, which clearly indicated his visual impairment status. In Arizona, licenses for visually impaired individuals are marked with specific codes and restrictions. Collins looked at the license and saw the visual impairment designation. This should have ended the encounter immediately. Instead, Collins questioned whether the license was legitimate. "How do I know this is real?" Collins asked. "Officer, you can run it through your system. My license number is B123456789. I've lived at the same address for 6 years. I work at Tech Corp downtown. I can give you their number to verify my employment." The offer to verify his information should have reassured Collins. Instead, it seemed to make him more suspicious. "Why are you so eager to give me information? Most people don't want to cooperate this much." Marcus was trapped in an impossible situation. His cooperation was being interpreted as suspicious. His calm demeanor was being seen as evidence of deception. "Officer, I'm trying to be helpful because I want this situation to end peacefully. I'm a law-abiding citizen trying to get coffee. I have no criminal record, no outstanding warrants, and no reason to cause problems. Do you think Marcus was handling this situation correctly? Let me know what you think." Collins radioed in Marcus's information and waited for the computer check. While they waited, Collins continued to question Marcus's story. "So, you're telling me you walk to this coffee shop every week?" "Yes, every Thursday around 2:30. I've been doing it for 3 years. The staff knows my order. Large dark roast, no cream, no sugar. And you live alone?" "Yes, I live independently. I use screen reading software for work, audio navigation for walking, and adaptive technology for daily living." Being blind doesn't mean being helpless. The computer check came back clean. Marcus had no criminal history, no outstanding warrants, no traffic violations. His license was valid, his address was current, and his employment information checked out. Collins now faced a moment of truth. He could acknowledge his mistake, apologize, and let Marcus continue to the coffee shop, or he could double down on his original assumption. He chose to double down. "I still don't like the look of this whole situation," Collins said. "What don't you like about it?" Marcus asked. "I'm a blind man with a white cane, walking to a coffee shop I visit regularly. What seems suspicious about that?" Collins couldn't articulate what bothered him because the real answer was racial bias. He saw a black man and assumed criminality. Everything else was just rationalization. "I think you're being evasive," Collins said. "How am I being evasive? I've answered every question, provided identification, offered to verify my information, and explained exactly where I was going and why. What more would you like me to do?" The crowd of bystanders was growing larger. Someone had called the local news station. A reporter was on the way. Social media posts about the encounter were already starting to circulate. Collins noticed the crowd and became defensive. "Everyone needs to move along. This is police business." But people weren't moving along. They were witnessing what appeared to be harassment of a disabled man, and they weren't comfortable just walking away. An elderly woman approached Collins. "Officer, I've seen this young man walking this route every week for years. He's blind. He's just going to the coffee shop." "Ma'am, I need you to step back," Collins replied. "I'm trying to help you understand that you're making a mistake." The woman persisted. Collins was now dealing with a situation that was spiraling out of his control. The longer the encounter continued, the more obvious it became that he had made a serious error in judgment. Finally, Marcus made a suggestion that should have resolved everything. "Officer, why don't we walk to Copper Star Coffee together? The staff can confirm my identity and my routine. That should clear up any confusion." It was a reasonable suggestion. The coffee shop was 2 blocks away. The walk would take 5 minutes. The staff could verify Marcus's story immediately. Collins refused. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then may I continue to the coffee shop? I've provided identification, answered all your questions, and submitted to a search. I haven't committed any crimes, and you found no evidence of wrongdoing." Collins was trapped. He had no legal basis to detain Marcus further. The man had committed no crime, posed no threat, and had been completely cooperative. But admitting that would mean acknowledging that he had drawn his weapon on an innocent blind man walking to get coffee. "I'm going to let you go with a warning," Collins said, as if he was doing Marcus a favor. "A warning about what?" Marcus asked. Collins paused. What could he warn a blind man about? Walking while black? Not using a mobility cane? Being polite to police officers? "Just be more careful about how you carry that stick," Collins said weakly. Marcus stood there for a moment, processing what had just happened. Then he said something that perfectly captured the absurdity of the situation. "Officer, I'll be careful about how I carry the mobility aid that I need to navigate safely as a blind person. Is there a particular way you'd recommend I hold my white cane that would be less threatening to law enforcement?" The sarcasm was gentle but unmistakable. Collins had no response. Marquez folded his cane, extended it again to check its function, and began walking toward the coffee shop. The crowd of bystanders parted to let him pass, many of them shaking their heads in disbelief. The entire encounter had lasted 8 minutes and 27 seconds. 8 minutes and 27 seconds that would soon be replayed millions of times on social media, analyzed by legal experts, and used as a training example of implicit bias in law enforcement. Collins returned to his patrol car and drove away. He had no idea that his career was about to end. Marcus arrived at Copper Star Coffee at 2:38 p.m., 8 minutes later than usual. The staff immediately noticed his distress. "Marcus, are you okay?" asked Jennifer, the barista, who had been serving him for 3 years. "I just had an encounter with a police officer who thought my white cane was a weapon," Marcus replied. Jennifer looked confused. "Your white cane? The one with the red tape that you use every day?" "That's the one." Word of the incident spread quickly through the coffee shop. Other customers overheard the conversation. Several people who had witnessed the encounter came in and confirmed Marcus's account. By the time Marcus got home, videos of the encounter were already being posted online. The local news station had picked up the story. Civil rights organizations were being contacted. Marcus spent that evening fielding calls from reporters, disability advocates, and civil rights attorneys. He hadn't sought attention, but the story was too outrageous to ignore. The next morning, the Phoenix Police Department's Public Information Office was flooded with calls. The body camera footage was requested by multiple news organizations. Chief Patricia Rodriguez watched the footage in her office, surrounded by her command staff. The room was silent except for Collins's voice, refusing to accept that Marcus was blind and using a mobility aid. When the video ended, Chief Rodriguez turned to her deputy chief. "How did we hire someone this incompetent?" Internal Affairs opened an investigation immediately. Collins was placed on administrative leave while they reviewed the incident. The investigation was straightforward. The body camera footage showed everything. Collins had drawn his weapon on an innocent man based on no reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. He had refused to recognize obvious signs of visual impairment. He had ignored bystanders trying to help him understand his mistake. Most damaging of all, he had treated Marcus's compliance and cooperation as suspicious rather than reassuring. The disability rights community was outraged. The National Federation of the Blind issued a statement calling the incident a shocking display of ignorance and bias. The American Foundation for the Blind offered to provide free training to the Phoenix Police Department. local disability advocates organized protests outside police headquarters. They carried white canes and wore blindfolds to demonstrate how obvious Marcus's visual impairment should have been. The investigation took 6 weeks, which was considered fast for police internal affairs. The conclusion was inevitable. Collins had demonstrated bias, poor judgment, and a fundamental lack of understanding of basic disability aids. Collins was terminated from the Phoenix Police Department. The termination letter cited conduct unbecoming an officer, failure to properly assess civilian encounters, and discriminatory enforcement practices. Collins tried to appeal the termination, but his union representative advised him to accept the decision. The body camera footage made the case indefensible. Marcus filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against Collins and the Phoenix Police Department. The lawsuit alleged violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act, discrimination based on disability and race, and civil rights violations. The city's legal team reviewed the body camera footage and the investigation report. Their recommendation was immediate settlement. If the case went to trial, the jury verdict would likely be substantial. The settlement was finalized 4 months after the incident. Marcus received $180,000 from the city's insurance carrier. The Phoenix Police Department agreed to implement comprehensive disability awareness training for all officers. The training program was developed in consultation with disability advocacy groups. It included instruction on recognizing mobility aids, understanding different types of disabilities, and de-escalation techniques for encounters with disabled individuals. Collins never worked in law enforcement again. No police department would hire an officer terminated for discriminating against a disabled person. He eventually found work in private security, making significantly less money than he had as a police officer. The body camera footage became a viral sensation, viewed over 15 million times across various platforms. It was featured in news reports, documentary films, and academic studies about implicit bias in policing. Law enforcement training, Mize began using the footage as an example of how unconscious bias can lead to catastrophic errors in judgment. The video showed clearly how Collins's assumptions about race and criminality prevented him from seeing obvious reality. Marcus returned to his routine of walking to Copper Star Coffee every Thursday. The staff always greeted him warmly, and other customers who recognized him often expressed support and admiration for how he had handled the encounter. Marcus also became an advocate for disability rights and police reform. He gave presentations at law enforcement conferences, explaining how officers can better serve disabled community members. In interviews, Marcus often emphasized that his case wasn't unique. Disabled people, especially disabled people of color, face discrimination and misunderstanding from law enforcement regularly. His incident gained attention only because it was so obviously absurd and because it was recorded. 3 years later, the white cane that Collins mistook for a weapon sits in Marcus's apartment. It's the same cane he uses every day to navigate Phoenix safely and independently. The Phoenix Police Department still shows the body camera footage to new recruits. It's part of a training module called Recognizing Our Biases that every officer must complete annually. Chief Rodriguez, who remained in her position, often references the Marcus Thompson case when discussing police reform. She calls it a perfect example of how implicit bias can cause officers to see threats where none exist. The case also led to policy changes beyond Phoenix. Police departments across the country began reviewing their training programs to include disability awareness. The Marcus Thompson incident became shorthand for the kind of police encounter that should never happen. Here's what makes this story so important. It wasn't about a complex legal issue or an ambiguous situation. It was about a police officer who couldn't recognize a standard mobility aid used by millions of disabled Americans. Collins saw a black man with a stick and immediately assumed criminality. His bias was so strong that he ignored obvious evidence, bystander assistance, and common sense. Marcus Thompson's calm professionalism during the encounter showed how disabled people, especially disabled people of color, often have to navigate discrimination with patience and grace. Marcus couldn't afford to be angry or confrontational, even when facing obvious injustice. The bystanders who intervened showed the importance of community members speaking up when they witnessed unfair treatment. Their willingness to contradict a police officer helped document the absurdity of the situation. If you found this story eye-opening, make sure you're subscribed for more content about police accountability and civil rights. Drop a comment and let me know what you thought about how Marcus handled this impossible situation. This isn't just a story about one bad police encounter. It's a story about the intersection of racism and ableism, about how bias can literally blind people to reality, and about the importance of training, accountability, and reform in law enforcement. Marcus Thompson was just trying to get coffee. Instead, he became the center of a national conversation about how we treat disabled Americans and how implicit bias shapes police encounters. The white cane that Officer Collins mistook for a weapon continues to help Marcus navigate Phoenix safely every day. It's a symbol of independence, mobility, and the right of disabled people to move through the world without fear or harassment. And thanks to Marcus's courage in speaking out and the clear evidence captured on body camera, it's also become a symbol of how far we still have to go in building a just and equitable society for all Americans. Thanks for watching this story all the way through. The fight for disability rights and police accountability continues.
We thank you for watching. If this episode provided clarity on the matter, kindly like, share, and subscribe to the Justice Insight Cam channel. Stay educated, stay secure, and we look forward to our next review.